I want you to do something for me right now. Like, if you're sitting down, just tap the table in front of you.
Yeah, or if you're squeeze the steering wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just notice the floor beneath your feet,
Mm-hmm.
the pressure of gravity holding you in your chair.
Because we walk around every single day operating under this massive silent assumption.
Right. We assume that the ground, the table, the wheel,
Yeah.
we assume they are inherently solid. We treat them as totally
We
unquestionable.
call it reality, right?
Yeah, exactly. The general consensus is just that reality is this physical, absolute substance out there in the universe, and you and I are just, existing inside of it like fish in a fishbowl.
And it is arguably the most natural assumption a human being can make. I mean, the brain is quite literally wired to assume the bowl is real so we can just focus on swimming.
Right? We don't even think to question the water we are swimming in.
We really don't.
But what if that unquestionable physical solidity is actually just a highly convincing trick of your own mind?
Oh, that is the big question.
Like, what if reality isn't a thing you can reach out and touch at all?
Asking that specific question completely upends how you interact with literally everything around you, from the chair you are sitting in right now to the way you understand your own consciousness.
It's wild. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are basically dismantling the world you think you live in.
We really are.
We are pulling from this truly mind-bending essay titled Reflections on Reality and Reality-ness.
It's a fantastic piece of writing.
It is. And our mission for this deep dive is to completely take apart the idea of reality as this absolute physical substance sitting out there in the universe.
Right, and instead, we are going to help you understand a deeply fascinating concept that the source text calls reality-ness.
Reality-ness.
Yeah, adding that little suffix, making it a condition rather than an object. It represents a massive shift in how we understand human existence.
A shift from what to what, exactly?
Well, it moves us from looking outward at the universe to looking inward at how we actually process the universe.
Okay, let's unpack this, because my brain is already hurting a little bit.
That's completely normal with this topic.
I mean, we're essentially saying that the solid table in front of me isn't inherently real on its own.
Yes.
Where does this text even begin to make a claim like that?
So, the author starts by isolating the very first step of human perception. They ask us to look at how we even know the world is there in the first place.
Okay.
And the core premise we have to accept here, and it's a big one, is that human beings never, ever directly perceive reality itself completely outside of our own subjectivity.
Wait, never.
Never. Every single thing you have ever experienced has been mediated by your brain, your senses, your internal processing.
So, meaning I am sort of trapped in my own biological VR headset.
That is exactly it.
Like everything I encounter, the table, the steering wheel, the sound of my voice right now,
Yeah.
it's only appearing within my subjective experience. I can't take the headset off.
Right, you can't just take it off and check if the universe is actually sitting there in the dark.
Yeah.
That captures the dilemma perfectly.
Which is terrifying, honestly.
It is. Because you are only ever judging things from the inside of the system.
Right.
You're looking at the data your senses provide and saying to yourself, well, this certainly seems real, but you never get to access the raw, unedited universe.
Okay, I'm tracking with the subjective VR headset idea, but I have a major practical problem here.
Lay it on me.
I need to push back on this. If everything is just a subjective experience happening inside my head, what makes my morning cup of coffee different from a dream I had last night about drinking coffee?
That is the perfect question.
Because, when I wake up, the dream coffee just vanishes into thin air.
Exactly.
But the physical coffee in my kitchen is heavy, it's hot, it burns my tongue if I drink it too fast. Those two things feel entirely different mechanically.
And the essay actually addresses this exact distinction, but the answer is not what you might expect.
Oh boy.
The text argues that your waking life isn't inherently made of a different substance than your dream.
Wait, really? Not a different substance?
No. We tend to think waking life is built out of, absolute reality particles, and dreams are built out of fake imagination particles.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
Right, but from the perspective of your consciousness, they are both just experiences arising in your mind.
So if it's not a different substance, why does the waking coffee burn my tongue while the dream coffee just, evaporates?
Well, the difference lies in the specific qualities of the experience itself.
Okay.
The essay lays out strict criteria for how the brain judges these things. What we call reality simply possesses more continuity, more resistance, more shareability with others, and stable causality.
Wait, let me make sure I'm mapping those criteria right.
Go for it.
So continuity means the coffee mug is still sitting on the counter when I blink.
Yes, or when you leave the room and come back.
Okay, and resistance means when I try to push my hand through the mug, the ceramic pushes back.
Exactly. It's solid.
Right. And shareability.
Shareability means if a friend walks into your kitchen, they also see the coffee mug and can confirm it's sitting right there.
Okay, that makes sense. And the last one was stable causality.
Yeah, stable causality. That's the physics of it all. If you knock the mug off the counter, it falls, hits the floor, and shatters.
The coffee spills.
Exactly. That sequence of events happens reliably every single time.
Whereas in a dream, the causality is a total mess.
Totally.
Like, I might knock the mug off the counter and it suddenly turns into a flock of birds.
No.
Or the floor turns into an ocean.
Well, there is no stable rule book.
There really isn't.
Yeah.
So I guess that lack of a stable rule book is why you eventually classify the dream as not real.
That is exactly it, because waking life has all these incredibly stable, predictable, shared qualities. We successfully use it to navigate our day.
Yeah.
But here is the massive aha moment from the source material. Because that stability is so useful, human beings make an unconscious leap.
Oh, so we jump to a conclusion based on the stability.
We do. We touch the coffee mug. We feel its resistance. Our friends agree it's there. It follows the rules of physics. We take all that highly consistent subjective data, and then completely unconsciously, we slap a massive metaphysical label onto it. We declare, therefore, this is absolute reality.
Oh, I see the trap.
Yeah.
We take all these incredibly practical functional metrics, like the fact that the mug always shatters and never turns into birds, and we leap to the conclusion that the mug must be this sacred, fundamental truth of the universe.
Existing totally independent of us.
Right.
And the text warns us very clearly about this. Accuracy and stability within a subjective system do not prove absolute reality.
Wow.
Just because your perception is highly stable and predicts outcomes perfectly, it only means you are having a highly stable subjective experience.
It doesn't magically justify the conclusion that you have discovered absolute objective reality in itself.
Okay.
It's like we are playing a massive multiplayer video game where the physics engine is just flawlessly coded.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right, like it never glitches, gravity always works,
Yeah.
everyone sees the same map. And because the game engine is so incredibly consistent, we players decide that the video game isn't just a game, it's the ultimate truth of the cosmos.
Yes.
We confuse the stability of the interface with base reality.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it. We are confusing the reliable stability of the system with the metaphysical essence of the world itself.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because if reality isn't an absolute physical substance, right? If it's really just a highly stable physics engine running in our subjective experience, why does it feel so incredibly heavy?
Wait, yeah.
Because if I trip and stub my toe on the leg of the table, I'm not lying on the floor thinking about highly stable subjective continuity.
Yeah, you definitely aren't.
No, I'm thinking that is a real solid table and I am in real solid pain.
Right. And that visceral feeling, the sheer weight of that pain and solidity, is exactly what brings us to the core concept of this entire essay.
Yeah.
The author suggests we have to stop talking about reality as a noun, as a static object, and start talking about reality-ness.
Reality-ness. With an N-E-S-S at the end.
Exactly.
So we are turning it into a property.
We are turning it into a condition of experience. The text argues that asking what reality-ness is gets us much closer to understanding our lived experience than endlessly debating what reality is.
Okay, I think I follow.
Think about the sheer volume of things your mind processes. Dreams, memories, anxious thoughts, wild fantasies, and physical perceptions like stubbing your toe.
It's a lot.
It is. And they all appear within your subjectivity. They're all just data given to your consciousness.
Right. They are all just different files being opened on the desktop of my mind.
Yet among all those files, some feel hazy and distant, like a memory. Some feel totally imaginary, like a daydream.
Yeah.
And some feel overwhelmingly, undeniably real. The mechanism that produces that difference is reality-ness.
So reality-ness is not a magical property inscribed into the atomic structure of the table.
No, it is a kind of weight. It is a felt genuineness, a processing intensity that your own mind attributes to the experience.
Oh, okay. So my brain is functioning almost like a search engine algorithm.
Yes.
It's constantly taking in all these sensory inputs, and it ranks them based on how reliable they are.
Exactly right.
Like if an input has high continuity and other people are linking to it by agreeing it's there, my brain's algorithm ranks it at number one.
Yep.
It applies maximum processing intensity and labels it with heavy reality-ness.
That algorithmic ranking is exactly how the author describes it. When an experience constantly resists your will, like the table refusing to move when you kick it, and when it perfectly coheres with what other people see, your mind gives it massive weight.
It treats it as maximally genuine.
Right. But the text provides a sharp warning here. Weight is just weight.
What do you mean?
A heavy thing is just heavy. An experience doesn't suddenly transcend your subjectivity and become absolute reality merely because your brain processes it with extreme intensity.
Oh, wow. Okay, so reality-ness is basically a bundle of metrics.
Yes.
It's perceptual stability, plus temporal continuity, plus practical usefulness, all bundled together by my brain's algorithm under a label we casually call our sense of reality.
Exactly. And to help us conceptualize this, the text introduces the idea of modes of arising.
Modes of arising.
Yeah, we need to stop treating reality as this VIP, privileged object sitting out in the universe and realize it is simply one specific mode of experiential organization.
Wait, modes of arising sounds like we're treating human experience like different channels on a television.
That's a good way to look at it.
Are dreams just a different broadcast channel than waking life?
In a functional sense, yes. A dream has a dream mode of arising. It has its own loose, fluid rules.
Right.
A memory has a memory mode of arising. And the physical world around us has a reality mode of arising.
So reality isn't the only true substance.
Not at all. It is simply the mode of arising that human beings most strongly cooperate with and jointly maintain because it's the most stable.
Well, we'll make sure this lands for everyone listening because
Yeah.
this is a fundamental perspective shift. It really is. What the essay is saying is that reality-ness is entirely about the stability of relations.
Yes.
Like when you look at the table, you perceive it. When you touch it, it pushes back.
Exactly.
When you leave the room and come back, it's still there. If I walk in, I see it too. So reality isn't a secret ingredient baked inside the object.
No.
It is a stable, reliable response pattern between you, your physical body, the passage of time, and the other people around you.
It is entirely relational. The relationship between those elements is what generates the reality-ness, not the noun, not the object itself.
Okay, I can already hear the listeners' skepticism flaring up right now.
I'm sure they have questions.
Because if reality is just a stable relational mode, if it's just my brain's algorithm assigning subjective weight, what do we do about science?
Ah, science.
Right. Doesn't science literally prove objective reality? I mean, we split the atom. We send mechanical rovers to Mars.
We do.
We calculate the trajectory of eclipses centuries in advance. That isn't just a subjective feeling of weight. That is hard, undeniable, objective truth, isn't it?
What's fascinating here is how the source material completely reframes the role of science without diminishing its incredible power.
Okay.
It challenges our assumption that science is a tool for uncovering absolute metaphysical truth.
How does it do that? Because science feels like the ultimate trump card for objective reality.
It does feel that way.
Like if I drop an apple, gravity pulls it down.
Yes.
Science measures the acceleration. End of story, right?
Well, the essay suggests we are fundamentally misunderstanding what science is actually doing when it measures that apple.
What do you mean?
Science does not grasp absolute metaphysical reality in itself.
If it's not uncovering base reality, what is it doing with all those measurements?
It is systematically extracting highly reproducible structures from within our shared experiences. Look at the scientific method itself, observation, reproduction, prediction, intervention. All of those are actions designed to describe the stable order of our subjective experience with extreme precision.
So think of it like drawing a map.
Exactly.
The map isn't the actual dirt, rocks, and mountains of the territory.
Yeah.
It's just a highly reliable, shared diagram that prevents us from getting lost.
That's a brilliant way to put it.
So science is just drawing the most incredibly accurate map of human experience possible. But it's still just a map. It's not the metaphysical territory itself.
The author describes science exactly like that. Not as a proof of absolute reality, but as humanity's most highly refined system of shared stabilization.
Shared stabilization.
Yeah, it is the ultimate tool for mapping the reality mode of arising.
I love that phrase, shared stabilization. But let me play devil's advocate again, because I'm stuck on the practical implications.
Go for it.
I understand the map versus territory idea, but if reality isn't an absolute metaphysical truth, why can't I just decide to ignore the map? Like, If I decide to test this right now and sprint headfirst into the brick wall of my studio, I am going to get a concussion.
You definitely will.
Subjective or not, that wall stops me. Or, on a social level, why can't I just walk into a grocery store, take a carton of milk, and walk out without paying?
Right.
If it's all just a subjective relational mode, why am I physically and socially bound by these rules?
This raises an important question about how we live our daily lives, and the text gives us a very sharp distinction to resolve it.
Which is?
The difference between truth and effectiveness.
Truth versus effectiveness. So just because something is effective doesn't mean it's an absolute truth.
Exactly. We constantly confuse the two.
Yeah, we do.
We assume that if something affects us, it must be universally real, and if it is real, it must be universally true.
Right.
But the essay argues that much of what we treat as reality in daily life, like the brick wall or the concept of money, is not an absolute metaphysical truth.
Okay.
It is simply a highly effective constraint.
An effective constraint. So bumping into a table, or fire burning my hand, or the social agreement that money has value.
Those aren't sacred, absolute truths written into the fabric of the cosmos.
They aren't.
No, they are conditions that you cannot ignore without suffering a practical breakdown. If you try to sprint through a brick wall, your practical bodily experience breaks down very quickly.
Yeah, you get concussion.
Right.
And if I try to take groceries without paying, the shared stabilization of society breaks down, the social agreement collapses, and I go to jail.
Exactly. So reality is simply the name we give to the experiential order that is the most broadly, strongly, and durably effective.
Wow.
You are bound by the rules of gravity and economics, not because they are divine truths, but because they are the most incredibly effective constraints we operate under.
So what does this all mean?
In what sense?
Like, if someone is listening to this on their morning commute, gripping their physical steering wheel, how does this change their life? What do we actually do with this information?
It means that accepting reality doesn't have to mean submitting to some sacred, absolute, unquestionable dogma.
Oh, I see.
You don't have to worship reality as a god.
That actually feels incredibly liberating.
It is.
It takes the heavy, oppressive weight off the concept of the real world.
It does. The text suggests that instead of viewing reality as an absolute truth, we should view it as a highest priority protocol.
Oh, protocol.
Yeah, think of it as a necessary operating system. It is highly usable. It is extremely strong in practical terms. We absolutely have to adopt it to function in the world and avoid concussions.
Right.
But we don't need to add all that metaphysical baggage to it. We can use the word reality practically while completely dropping the absolutist overtones.
We adopt the protocol because it works, not because it's the ultimate truth.
Exact.
That is a brilliant reframing. But it leads me to another thought.
Oh.
If reality is essentially a protocol that we are running, who is the we running it?
Ah, yes.
Like, if the external world is just a relational loop, what about the internal world? What about the self?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the self and the external world are completely intertwined in this framework. You cannot separate them.
Really?
The text dives deeply into the mechanics of what it calls the self-world loop.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that loop. How does my internal sense of me interact with the external protocol of the world?
So, ordinarily, you walk around with this deep, unbroken feeling of, I am definitely here, and I am a distinct individual facing the outside world.
Right?
That profound feeling of a solid I acts as an anchor. It constantly reinforces the reality of the solid world.
Okay.
The continuity of yourself and the continuity of the world mutually support each other. You are the central reference point that bundles all these stable external experiences together.
So I am literally the anchor point for reality-ness.
Yeah.
My brain is the server running the protocol.
Yes. But here's the fascinating flip side of that loop.
What's that?
Because they are mutually dependent, when the absoluteness of the self weakens, like if your sense of who you are becomes thin, destabilized, or fragmented,
Yeah.
the absoluteness of the external world tends to weaken right along with it.
Oh, that makes total sense. If the anchor pulls loose from the seabed, the ship immediately starts drifting.
Exactly.
If I undergo a crisis and I'm not sure who I am anymore, then the physical environment around me, the societal rules I follow, none of it feels quite as solid either.
Because reality-ness isn't just a property of the object, and it isn't just a property of the self. It arises specifically from the combination of the two.
Okay.
It is the stability of the object, the stability of the relations, and the stability of your self-reference, all looping together in real time. When that entire loop is strong, reality-ness is extremely
But
high.
even then, as the text reminds us, just because that self-world loop is running flawlessly doesn't mean it's generating absolute substance.
Right.
It just means the loop is really hard to break out of.
Exactly. And that leads us directly into the deepest and most profound layer of the essay.
Okay, where are we going?
The text asks, if we strip away all the social agreements, all the scientific maps, all the conceptual labels we've discussed, what is left at the very bottom of human existence?
What is the foundational layer beneath the protocol?
The author calls it primordial experience.
Primordial experience. So this is the raw, unfiltered sensory data before my brain even starts applying the algorithm to rank its reality-ness.
Yes. It is the layer of experience that is closest to direct givenness, just raw feeling and perception.
Okay.
And the text highlights a mind-bending, inescapable fact about this primordial experience.
Which is?
It is irreducibly non-exchangeable.
Irreducibly non-exchangeable. That is a mouthful.
It is, yeah.
Meaning it is impossible for me to trade it or swap it with you?
Right, meaning it is fundamentally unshareable. We can talk about experiences all day long, but we
Yeah.
can never actually share the primordial core of them.
Let me try an analogy here to see if I'm grasping this.
Go for it.
If I get a massive migraine headache, I can go to the doctor and describe the pain. I can tell you it throbs. The doctor can even put me in an fMRI machine and show you a scientific, objective brain scan lighting up with pain signals.
Exactly, lots of data.
We can share all those facts.
Yeah.
But I can never, ever hand you the actual feeling of the throbbing pain.
No, you can't.
I can't plug your consciousness into mine. The sheer raw experience of the migraine is completely locked inside my head.
That is the perfect illustration of non-exchangeability. You can share the map of the migraine, but you cannot share the territory.
Right.
The actual arising of the experience inside your consciousness is permanently sealed off from everyone else.
Wow.
And because primordial experience is ultimately unshareable, the text comes to a profound conclusion. The ultimate basis of reality-ness cannot be the guarantees of other people.
Because other people are just confirming the map.
Exactly.
They can agree the coffee cup is there. They can agree my brain is in pain. But that objectivity doesn't touch the actual feeling of the experience.
Right. And if there is no final, external, objective guarantee available to validate your existence, then the ultimate basis of reality-ness must be your own given experience.
It all comes back to me.
You and you alone are the final site of confirmation for your universe.
Which feels incredibly isolating, but also, I don't know, deeply empowering.
It does.
And the essay uses a really beautiful historical quote to anchor this idea, doesn't it?
Yes, it brings in a famous phrase from Buddhist philosophy. Be a light unto yourself and a light unto the Dharma.
Be a light unto yourself and a light unto the Dharma. I know we aren't talking about religion here, so how does the text interpret that quote practically within this framework of reality-ness?
It interprets it as the ultimate philosophical instruction for navigating a subjective universe.
Okay.
To be a light unto yourself means you have absolutely no choice but to carefully illuminate your own given experience right here and now because no one else can do it for you.
You cannot rely on society or science as an external absolute to validate your existence.
Exactly. You must observe your own mind.
You have to be the one to watch the migraine or taste the coffee and validate it for yourself.
Right.
But what about the second half? What does it mean to be a light unto the Dharma?
Well, the Dharma in this context represents the structural laws and conditions of how things arise.
Okay.
The warning here is that you shouldn't just let your internal observation become arbitrary.
Right.
Like you don't just sit there and say, well, whatever I imagine is the absolute truth.
Right, because that would just be absolutizing your own ego, which is another trap.
Oh, okay.
Instead, you use the structure, the lawfulness, and the effective constraints of the world as your guide.
Yeah.
You rigorously examine your direct experience, but you also examine the conditions that established it.
So you feel the burn of the coffee, you
Yeah.
validate your own primordial experience of it, but you also study the rules of the matrix that put the coffee there in the first place.
Yes.
You respect the physics engine, even while knowing it's just an engine.
You accept reality-ness as a highly stable, jointly operable relational order. You play the game, and you play it well.
But you realize that the only light that can ever truly illuminate the game comes from within your own private experience.
Wow. Okay, we have covered some serious metaphysical ground today.
We really have.
Let me try to summarize this journey we've been on for everyone listening, because this is exactly the kind of material you want to let simmer in your brain for a few days.
Absolutely.
We started with the everyday assumption that the world around us is a solid, unquestionable thing made of absolute matter.
Right.
But we've learned that reality-ness isn't a mysterious magical attribute hiding inside the atomic structure of objects. It's not a mark of absolute metaphysical truth.
No, it's not.
Instead, reality is simply an evaluation. It is an algorithmic calculation your brain makes about how stably, repeatably, and effectively a cluster of sensory experiences operates within a relational system that includes you, time, and other people.
Perfectly said.
We rely heavily on the function of reality. We adopt it as our highest priority protocol because it is wildly effective,
Yeah,
because it keeps us from walking into brick walls and getting concussions.
exactly.
But the liberating truth is, we do not need it to be metaphysically absolute in order to use it. We can let go of the exhausting need for absolute objective truth and just appreciate the incredibly stable, shared map that we are all collaboratively drawing every single day.
Understanding that completely shifts your relationship with the environment. You stop being a passive recipient of a static, heavy world, and you realize you are an active, necessary participant in an ongoing, stable relational order. You are helping generate the reality-ness.
It really is a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final, lingering idea to mull over. Something that builds on that self-world loop we explored toward the end.
Oh, this is a good one.
Think back to the steering wheel or the table you tapped at the very
Yeah.
beginning of this deep dive.
Yeah.
If reality is essentially just the most stable, highest priority protocol that our minds run, and if that stability relies heavily on how solid our own continuous sense of self is acting as the anchor,
Right.
what happens to the physical world around you the moment you deeply question who you are? If your sense of self thins out, if you strip away all your labels, your history, your name, does the solid table in front of you get just a little bit softer?
That is something to think about.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep questioning the unquestionable, and above all, stay insanely curious.